Back to the book. The main protagonist is Dora Van Hart, Mother Dora. Who is the Obeah woman? How close is Mother Dora's fictional story close to the reality of the spiritual Obeah world?
Well, Mother Dora embodies what an Obeah woman is. I have seen so many details of Obeah women that are so wrong. They're nowhere near the truth. And Mother Dora is my way of showing what a real Obeah woman is.
The Obeah Woman by Anastasia the Phoenix Armourer. Chapter 15. That afternoon Dora drove to Shanka's house, for it was time. His son Jesse opened the door. Dora walked in carrying her basket. Edna had everything all ready and the baby was ready to come. Shanka took his sons outside and sat with them on the front steps of the house. They waited for a while, then Edna came out to them. "It's a girl child, Shanka. You have a beautiful daughter," she said with excitement. She brought them in to see the baby. Shanka smiled from ear to ear as he held his daughter in his arms. "Her name is Dora," he said. His wife Gloria smiled with approval. Dora gave the family her blessings and left the home. She drove her truck back to her house. It was about 5:30 p.m. when she saw a strange Caucasian man walking up the road towards her house. He wore a beautiful black suit, and had blonde hair down to his shoulders with beautiful blue eyes. He was extremely handsome. A bit too handsome, Dora thought to herself. Something about this man did not seem right, but she just could not put her finger on it. Dora stood in her gate as he walked up to her. "Hello, Mother Dora," he said with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. "Hello," answered Dora, trying to keep an open mind about this man. "Would it be too much for me to beg a drink of cool water from your mother?" he asked. "It would depend on who's doing the begging whether it would be too much or not," she replied. "I see that it is true what they say about you, my dear lady. You are indeed quite wise." He smiled at her again. Dora was now quite agitated. She did not like the fact that she could not get a grasp on who this man was, and the fact that he made her uneasy was doubly upsetting. Not counting the fact that he seemed to know her quite well. "Who are you?" she asked coldly. He chuckled a bit, as though he found her ignorance very amusing. "I am Colin, and I am here to claim my first wife, who is my niece's. How sweet of my brother Shanka to give her your name." Dora, "Ah, such a pretty name." He laughed and then vanished from before her. Dora was stunned. So stunned she dropped her basket. When she caught herself, she drove to Shanka's home. Gloria was screaming at the top of her lungs. The baby was gone. Dora was beside herself with anger. "It's all my fault. It's all my fault." Shanka was holding his head in his hand, weeping bitterly. Dora walked over to him. She looked down at him as he sat on his sofa weeping. Dora reached down and grabbed Shanka by the arm and took him outside. Dora was so angry she did not speak. She just glared at him. "I'm so sorry," said Shanka. "I should have told you," he said. "Kokaka is my sister, and Colin is my brother. We came here together. Our father brought us here. Our mother died mysteriously. She was a clan mother. My father was devastated. My father had a very difficult life in Portugal. Losing my mother was the last straw. He blamed God for all the problems in his life, and turned completely from him. He got involved with some terribly evil things and involved Kokaka, Colin, and myself at a very early age. Demands have plagued us all of our lives, especially Kokaka. They stayed on her until they finally got her. She is in league with Colin, who now has my daughter. We are cursed as a family. Please Dora, please help me. Please bring back my daughter." Dora did not try to console Shanka. "Go back to your wife. She needs you. she said, staring at Shanka with fierce eyes. He returned to the house and Dora drove back to her home. She went to her private room and mixed the incense that causes the magic mirror to reveal things. "Where is the child, Dora, daughter of Shanka?" she asked. Immediately, the mirror moved deep down into the earth. Suddenly the cries of a newborn baby were heard. Then, there was the baby. Colin's demons were all around her as she cried. He had appointed 2 ugly old witches to look after her. The baby cried and cried. Dora felt helpless. She held out her hands to the mirror. "Oh, if only I could take her through this mirror," she said. "Papa Bones, please give me the child." Then without warning, there was the baby in her arms. Dora was shocked. She couldn't believe it. She laughed and kissed the baby, and then she took the baby to her bedroom and laid her on her bed. The baby stopped crying. Dora left the baby with Sandra and Angela. She returned to Shanka's house. Gloria was still crying as though her heart was breaking. "Edna, get some things together for everyone," she said as she walked over to Gloria and knelt down in front of her. She took her face in her hands and looked deep into her eyes. "Now listen to me carefully," she whispered. "I have the baby." Gloria's eyes opened wide with excitement as she began to laugh and cry. She embraced Dora, still laughing and crying. "Shanka, I am going to take you and your family away from here." Edna paced all of their things in bundles. Dora took everything out to her truck, and the family left in the truck and Shanka's car. They drove to Dora's house. She then went to her bedroom and brought the baby to her mother. They were all elated to see the baby. Dora then took the family down into her basement. There were large, beautifully furnished rooms, and big toys for the boys to play on, with a well-stocked kitchen where Edna could prepare their meals. "You can stay here until I straighten this mess out." Dora made sure the family was settled. She then returned to her private room. In the mirror, she saw Colin screaming at the old witches and knocking them around the large cave. "Where is the child? Where is she?" he screamed. "We don't know, Great One. She was here one moment and gone the next. She just disappeared," they said. "You mean to tell me that there is someone with enough power to reach in here, into my own cave, and take what is mine?" "Impossible," he screamed. "You have misplaced her. Now you find her or I'm going to make you disappear." He stormed out of the cave. The witches and demons were looking everywhere for the child. Colin went in to see Samuel. "My most magnificent lord, please forgive this bold intrusion of your solitude, but I need your help, my lord," he said, bowing low to the ground. "What is it that you need?" Samuel asked in a coarse, hard, cold voice. "I need to know where the child Dora, daughter of Shanka, is," pleaded Colin. "She is with the woman Dora, in her house," answered Samuel. "But that is impossible, my lord." "The woman. Do you doubt me?" Samuel blared. "Oh no, my lord, for all know that you are most wise," Colin nervously stammered. "As you are most stupid," snapped Samuel. "You have underestimated this woman and her powers. You have been cocky and headstrong, showing yourself to her, laughing at her." "Tell me who is laughing now," Samuel screamed at Colin, his fierce eyes red in the darkness. "Forgive me, my lord," Colin begged, his head resting on the floor. "Forgive? I can never forgive stupidity. Now get out." Colin left Samuel the Black's presence, crawling backwards out of the room. He transported himself to Shanka's house, but Shanka and the rest of his family were gone. He was furious. He let out a horrible growl in his anger, and then he sent out 2 blasts of lasers out through his eyes, setting the house on fire. Dora took her sacred bow from the wall and a black arrow from the trunk. She put the arrow in place in the bow. Colin transported himself to the front of Dora's house. "Dora Van Hart. Dora Van Hart," he called out, well aware that he could not set foot in her yard. Soon he was joined by 12 large demons. The wind blew ferociously through the trees, and thunder and lightning struck the branches. "Come out here, Dora Van Hart, I want to talk to you," he said, his voice trembling with anger. Dora put down the bow and went outside. The wind blew her long black hair to and fro. When she came out, all the demons howled and hissed at her. "Where are Shanka and his family?" asked Colin, trying hard to remain calm. "I don't converse with demons. If you have a question for me, go to your sister, let her come to me." Dora then returned to her house. That was the worst insult ever. Colin was so outraged that he roared so loudly he reverted to his true wolf-like form. He sent out a blast of laser at Dora's house. It hit the house and ricocheted back, striking 2 demons. This made him even the angrier, so angry that he decided to take his revenge out upon the villagers. Colin ran through the village like a crazed beast, cutting and slashing people to death while burning down houses. Dora took up her bow and transported herself in front of Colin. She aimed her bow. Around her, people were running, screaming and dying. Colin saw Dora with the bow and he moved towards her. Dora saw him approaching when all around her seemed to be moving in slow motion. Dora released the bow. The black arrow flew toward Colin as he moved towards her. Suddenly, out of nowhere, appeared a large black winged demon. It snatched up Colin and took him up into the air as the arrow brushed by his left foot. The demon then disappeared into another dimension as the other demons followed him. The winged demon set Colin down on a large platform just outside his dwelling and left. Down in his palace, its walls embedded with diamonds and his floors covered with gold. Samuel the Black sat on his throne in the darkness. All was quiet and silent as the dead. Nothing moved. Nothing stirred. Then it could be heard. The sound of his breathing. A steady, deep, and disturbed breathing. Then again it came. The tapping which never ceased to disturb his solitude. But it was different this time, not the sound of an old cane that he knew so well. Not the sound of old shuffling feet, oh no, this was the sound of young feet. Young pretty feet in high heel shoes. They came closer and closer. He sat up in his throne filled with overwhelming anticipation. And then the wonderful perfume of roses. The scent pierced through the foul stale air and twirled around his nose. She entered the room, her long black hair flowing like a train behind her. She bowed herself before him to the ground. He stood to his feet and walked down the steps of his throne, his breathing heavier than it was before. He looked down at the beautiful woman kneeling before him. "Get up, my wife." The woman raised her body slowly as though in slow motion. She kept her head down and her eyes to the ground. "Look at me," he said. He walked around her, looking over every inch of her body. He was pleased. He didn't truly believe that she could do it, but here was the proof. Kokaka was actually more beautiful than Niama. He gazed into her big beautiful brown eyes. "What do you want, Kokaka?" he asked. This was the first time in 5 years that she had heard him say her name. It was also the first time she was allowed to stand in his presence. Only Niama had that privilege. "My most gracious lord, I am here to warn you. Dora Van Hart has in her possession the sacred bow of Asher. She attempted to destroy Colin, my brother, with it. He would be dead now if I had not helped him," she said as he returned to his throne. "I have searched for that bow for centuries. How did Van Hart get it?" he asked, enraged. "I don't know how or where she got it, but she has it, my lord." Samuel sat on his throne again. "I want Dora in my possession. You promised me that you would get her for me. Why have you not brought her to me? You and Niama are worthless." He spun his throne around and turned his back to her. "Now get out, Kokaka, and don't return without Dora Van Hart." Kokaka turned and left his presence. Dora spent the time helping the people of the village. healing the injured and comforting the frightened. She was so angry at Colin that she swore to herself that if she saw him again that she would kill him. It was early morning when Dora got home and everyone was still asleep. She moved quietly in the kitchen as she made herself some tea. Shonka is going to need a new house, she thought to herself. He will need a much larger house now that his family has grown. Dora drank her tea, and then she went to her private room and lit 2 candles for Papa Bones. She then thanked him for giving her the child. She was most grateful to him for his help,